barracks or in combat engineering school, there's nothing like walking in uniform. It's either you're running or you're marching. So basically, in the Royal Engineers, everyone has to earn the stable belt. There were regular inspections every morning. So after gaining your stable belt, you are given more respect by your training command. You are treated like an adult. Let's talk about PT, physical training. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tony and this is Tony's Diary. In today's video, I'll be talking about my experience during phase 2 training. If you've watched my previous video, you would know that before you join the British Army, you go for your assessment. After successfully passing your assessments, you then go ahead to attend your basic training, which is 13 weeks. It will change, but you just have to check on the website. So fast forward, after passing basic training successfully, you then have to attend your phase 2 training, which is also known as your trade training. So let me just take you guys back a bit. During your assessments, depending on the score you get during all the tests, cognitive tests, physical tests and everything, you get given a trade. Fortunately for me, I got the Royal Engineers, also known as the RE, meaning my phase 2 was going to be at mainly barracks, where all combat engineering is done. But don't forget, that is not my actual trade. My actual trade was logistics specialist. But because I was a logistics specialist, or I was going to be a logistics specialist in the Royal Engineers, I had to go to the School of Engineering to do my combat engineering course first. After passing that, which also took 10 to 13 weeks, after passing that, that's when you move forward or ahead and do your actual trade, which was the logistics. So the logistics actually took 3 weeks to complete. So yeah, let's talk about my experience during phase 2. Right after passing out from basic training, I was given a week to get my stuff together, go home, visit family, and then travel to the third location for my phase 2 training, which was at mainly barracks. Okay, combat engineering. What's combat engineering? So basically, in the Royal Engineers, everyone has to earn the belt, the stable belt. So when you go there from basic training, everyone wears the green belt until you pass your combat engineering course. At the end of the 13 weeks, where you go on the final exercise and pass all the various tests, that's when you get given your stable belt, which means you are now a Royal Engineer. Fast forward, from passing your combat engineering course, you then move on to do your actual trade, which mine of course was logistics specialist. There are other trades such as CMT, which is construction material technician, the Royal Engineers. We also have plumbers, we have surveyors, there's drivers, there's geotech, they deal with all the maps, there's signalers, and there's also the armored engineer, they drive all the tanks and all that. I was streamed into the logistics specialist role, but first of all I had to go through mini barracks to complete my combat engineering course. Unlike the phase 1 training where everything was kind of restricted, you're not allowed to go home, or during my time I wasn't allowed to go home because it was COVID. There was COVID at the time. So we had to stay on camp the whole time for 13 weeks, from week 1 to 13, without seeing our family. But then in phase 2, things are a bit more relaxed. I mean, from Monday to Friday, you are on course, and then on the weekend, you can go home, but you have to come back on a Sunday at a certain time because there's a curfew for trainees. So phase 2 was quite good. You were treated more like an adult than a child in basic training. Phase 2 as well, you're allowed to bring, depending on the troop commander's discretion, you're allowed to bring PlayStations, TV to your room, because in many barracks, it was like a 3-man room, which wasn't bad at all. So we're allowed certain privileges because we're actually doing well on course. As long as your room is kept neat and clean, during inspections, you pass all inspections every morning, you're good to go. So yeah, in many barracks, there were regular inspections every morning. Before I forget, in many barracks or in combat engineering school, there's nothing like walking in uniform. It's either you're running or you're marching. If you're caught walking, you are in trouble. So that's one of the biggest rules when it comes to combat engineering schools. Due to that fact, everyone that passes through that training becomes really, really, really fit. Yeah. Let's talk about PT, physical training. Physical training in phase 2, we started doing lessons and everything ramped up from start to finish. And trust me, in phase 2, the physical training is really tough. Every PT session had mental resilience in there. When I talk about mental resilience, I'm talking about the ability to continue even though you're about to give up. Because every session was that hard. So for example, they'll tell you, okay, we are tabbing or we are running for let's say 5 kilometers. You get to the 5 kilometer point and that's not the end. You are told to continue and do another 5 kilometers. Even though you not do it or you not do the entire 5, you will still continue until the PTI thinks, okay, I've had enough, let's end it. So yeah, every PT session had mental resilience in there, and that's good training as well for you. And let's talk about the classroom lessons. We learned how to handle explosives. We learned how to do demolitions, obviously with explosives. We learned how to build defenses, fence, barbed wires and all that. How to build trenches for defense. Yeah, we learned a lot. And each week had its own lesson, and there was a kind of like a test at the end of each week. So in order to progress with your training, you are required to pass your test, just like in phase 1. Usually you're supposed to learn how to swim in basic training, but because there was a pandemic at the time, there was nothing like swimming in my basic training experience. So fast forward, when I moved to phase 2 training for my combat engineering course, it is a requirement to pass your swimming test, because you can't be in the Royal Engineers without passing your swimming test, because most of the bridging that we do or build is obviously across bridges, which is obviously over water bodies. So you should be able to swim to save your life in case you fall. So this was where I had to really dig deep, because I had no clue about swimming. But because I wanted to progress in my career, I took it seriously. I was doing extra PT. So meaning, every morning, before I joined the main PT with my colleagues, I need to go to the swimming pool and do a swimming lesson and attend PT right after with everyone else. So basically I was doing twice as hard as all those guys. But it wasn't just me. I had a few people with me as well who couldn't swim. So we all had to go through the lessons. And within 6 weeks, I was able to swim and pass my swimming test. So yeah, that was quite an experience, because I had a fear for water. In week 7, there's something we call watermanship, where we go on the river or the lake using boats. So we basically learn how to operate boats during week 7. And to be able to do that, you need to be able to pass your military swimming test. So once you fail your swimming test, you have to be taken back to week 1 to start again, because you can't progress in the military combat school without passing your military swim test. After doing all the lessons in the combat engineering school, passing all the tests, on the final week, that's when we go on a final exercise where we are tested on everything we learned from week 1 to week 12. And trust me, this is the hardest exercise in my lifetime. Basic training was a joke. It involved patrolling, section attacks, night navigation, day navigation, building bridges, demolitions. Obviously, they were not live demolitions, but we had to like simulate demolitions. In fact, that is where the mental resilience also came at the end of the exercise. Usually, when we finish exercises, we call something index. So the commander shouts index, and then everyone knows, okay, yeah, the exercise is done. And sometimes before the index is called, you kind of have a feeling, yeah, it's getting to an end. Because, we pack all our bags and then tab a long distance and then we put our bags down. But this time, we put our bags down and guess what? Instead of index, all we heard was an explosion. Boom. That's when we had to start running. And on the way, there were different equipments that we had to carry and run with to the end of the finish line. Words cannot describe the pain we went through to become Royal Engineers. At the end, almost everyone was crying, because it was a really tough week for us. But yeah, in the end we did it, and we got our stable belt, we earned it, and we became Royal Engineers. So after gaining your stable belt, you wear it around camp. That's when you are given more respect by your training command. You are treated like an adult. You're not ordered around. You are treated more like a soldier. So yeah, moving forward from that, the next thing we had to do was driving lessons. Joining the British Army, I had no driving license. Even though I had experience driving back home in Ghana, I had no formal driving license. And this is one of the benefits of joining the British Army. You get your license for free. So yeah, all I had to do was study for the test, did my theory tests, and I was booked for practical as well. And within 2 weeks, I passed. And I got my license after a few weeks of passing. After passing all my driving courses, I was then posted to the frontline unit to continue my good work as a soldier. So guys, in my next video, I'll be telling you guys about my experience as my first ever unit. So yeah, if you liked the video and enjoyed the information I gave you guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.